and welcome to Health Q&A Monday. My name is Gill Stannard. I'm a health and happiness coach and I'm here to answer your questions. Today I've got a question from Dave who asks, should I quit sugar? Well Dave, controversial question. Now of course I can't tell you whether you should quit sugar or not, but I can certainly critique some of the programs that are around and look at the pros and cons. For most people, cutting out sugar is going to improve their quality of life, but it does depend on how you do it. Any refined carbohydrate like flour or sugar will often appear in some very low nutrient food, often high fat and high kilojoule. So you're not losing out on the nutrition stakes when you do so. But in the very rare occasion, that sugary white stuff can save your life. If you are a diabetic going through a massive hypo, sugar in any rapid form could bring you back from the brink. But I'm talking about the rest of us here. There are a few things around the programs that promote quitting sugar that I think need to be clarified. For example, some suggest you eat no fruit because of the fructose content. And the research on fructose is quite fascinating and generally talks about not the fructose that's part of a whole piece of fruit when you eat it, which is balanced out by water and fibre, but usually the form of high fructose corn syrup, which is a different kettle of fish altogether. High fructose corn syrup has the ratios of the sugars in it, which are different to most other sugars, and actually means that instead of being broken down in the digestive system, it gets broken down in the liver, just like alcohol. This is a really interesting phenomena that a lot of doctors and naturopaths noticed over the last couple of decades when high fructose corn syrup entered, soft drinks, ice creams, lollies, and that part of the diet. And found that people who swore they didn't drink alcohol but were testing positive for fatty liver. So that's not a great thing. There's also another so-called natural sugar that is metabolized, we think, in a very similar way, and that is agave syrup. Now, agave syrup is loved by the raw community, which is strange because it's a sticky white sap from a cactus, which is then boiled to convert the sugars from the starch. But the molecular structure, the sugar breakdown is very, very similar to the fructose ratio of high fructose corn syrup. So it looks like agave syrup may also be broken down in the liver and not be a great sugar choice. And when we're talking about sugar choices, I think there's a huge difference, say, between swapping your chocolate bar or your muesli bar at 3 o'clock with a whole piece of fruit like a fresh pear or maybe a handful of almonds, and having an alternative snack that's made full of agave or even that wonderful delicious rice malt syrup. So when we just swap one refined product, even if it's pseudo-natural, for another, we're not necessarily doing the best things for our body. If it tastes sweet, in most cases, it will be processed like a sugar in our body, raise your available blood sugar up, and drop you down afterwards. It depends on how much, say, fibre you've got in that treat as well as to how vicious that rise and drop will be. So if you consider quitting sugar, my suggestion would be that you're cutting out refined carbohydrates. The flour would be great as well, but at least if it's sugar and things that taste sweet, other than up to 2 pieces a day of fresh fruit rather than dried fruit or fruit juice. This is a great start. Maybe if you can do this for 2 or 3 weeks, make a note of how you feel. The first few days might be tough. There are a lot of people who describe their sugar-free first few days as being like a withdrawal process. That's quite shocking when you actually experience it. Go through it, drink lots of water, Make sure it's an easy time for you. You don't do it in the middle of exams or some time of stress. And see how you feel after 2 or 3 weeks. Now, if you don't feel any better or you feel worse, then I think you should really go to speak to a well-experienced naturopath or health coach. However, if you're like most people and after 2 or 3 weeks those withdrawal symptoms have long gone, you're actually feeling you've got some great energy and you're feeling wonderful in yourself, and perhaps continue it. If you do break that way of eating, maybe keep it to once a week and keep a note of how you feel. Does it throw your emotions around? Does it do odd things to your energy? The proof is always in the sugar-free pudding. Thanks, Dave. Hope that answers your questions. If you've got a question you'd like me to ask in Health Q&A Monday, please email coaching@gillstannard.com. You can find me on Twitter @herbalgill, and you can check out the website gillstannard.com.au. See you next week.